I'm Graciela. My dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2011, and I think it was about 2 or 3 years after that that he was also diagnosed with Lewy body dementia that went with the Parkinson's. I used to live in Albuquerque. I was actually a teacher, a kindergarten teacher.
That's cool.
And when he started progressing more, I moved back to El Paso, where I'm at now, to help my parents, and I moved in with them. And he was doing okay for a little while, but as it started progressing really quickly, and eventually, he got to the point where it was like the dementia took over, and so he could not take care of himself. And we had caregivers come in and help us, but we ended up having to place him in a nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
He was a veteran, and so that's actually how we think he got Parkinson's, is he was exposed to Agent Orange in Vietnam.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. So we think that's how he got it. So he was able to live in the veterans home, but he was only there a year.
Okay. Really sorry to hear about your dad and dementia together. That's horrible. Can you tell us a favorite memory with your dad, or a story that you'd like to share?
Yeah, there's so many. We were really close. We used to go fishing a lot. I have actually 6 older brothers, and we would all go fishing, and I was the one that liked to help clean the fish, and he just thought it was weird because I was the only girl and I was the one that did like the dirty work. And so that's a memory that I have of him, is him showing me how to do it and everybody being like weirded out that I was able to do it.
That's really funny. So when your dad was diagnosed, he was diagnosed in 2011, you said? So
Yes.
what were the first symptoms that made you really question if everything was okay, and made you like actually admit him to the hospital and find out what was really going on?
The first thing definitely was his handwriting. His handwriting got like super duper small, to where you really couldn't understand it. And he didn't really notice it. Like, he'd write something down and we'd be like, what does that say? He's like, what do you mean, what does it say? Look, I wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
That and his walking, it turned into sort of a shuffle, to where he would start it was like his legs were moving faster than he could really keep up with, and it would lead to falls. So that was why my mom had taken him to the doctor, and they were like, have you thought about Parkinson's? And then they diagnosed him. But we think he probably had it for a while before they actually diagnosed it. But it's like he started to get so frustrated with all the things that he couldn't do anymore, especially with his speech, because that was kind of the next big thing, was he started slurring all his words and we could barely understand what he was saying. So that would make him get really frustrated and like angry easily.
Right.
And then when the dementia came with it, that just exacerbated everything. Started after a while, he couldn't drive, and that he didn't want to have to rely on us to take him places, because he was always like the patriarch and he did everything for us. To sort of have to switch those roles was really hard for him.
Right. So when he had dementia, was he aware of the fact that he had Parkinson's, or was that out?
No, he knew, and he would bring it up to people because he wanted people to know, like, I went to Vietnam and I was exposed to this, and this is what happened to me. Like, he always had, he wanted to bring awareness to that,
Mm-hmm.
that something that happened so long ago now. And, it can be, I have to be careful because it can be in my genes and in something that he passed down to me because of the exposure to Agent Orange.
Right. Yeah, I forgot to mention this, but when you said that your dad's first symptom was his handwriting being smaller, that's actually true for my grandfather too. He was actually a doctor, and when taking his medical exam, he couldn't write properly, so the test wasn't finished completely. He couldn't get his degree for that, and it was horrible because when you devote yourself to so much for something like that, and something as little as handwriting, you never really expect it to be Parkinson's. It's just, my handwriting's all cramped. Were there any big lessons that your dad had instilled in you from a young age that you still apply today?
Oh yeah, for sure. He taught all of us to work really hard always, and don't take the easy way out. He went to Vietnam, he came back, and he went to school for a while, and he tried to transfer his credits to a different college, and they wouldn't accept him. And that was something that he always regretted, that he couldn't finish his school. And so he always taught us that going to school is really important. So with that in my head, I was able to get scholarships and get my degree in elementary education. And be able to help them out when they needed it. So he really taught us to work hard.
Yeah, I mean, with your dad being a veteran, of course, that's obviously like one of the fundamental principles, working hard and having perseverance. So I definitely understand why he instilled that in you. So after your dad was diagnosed and you started changing both physically and maybe socially, how did that impact your relationships, like maybe with your family, parents, siblings?
It was hard because for a while I was like the only one who was able to help them. And my mom is also sick. She has rheumatoid arthritis. So couldn't do a lot. Like if my dad did start to fall or something, she could not catch him because she really doesn't have the use of her arms. So that's why I had to move in with him. And I eventually got married and I have 2 kids, and we all moved in to my parents' house so that we could take care of my dad. But it really brought me and my mom closer together because I had to help her get him to appointments. So I knew all of his doctors, all of his medications, because sometimes she'd have to go in for something. And so I'd be the only one there with my dad. And my brothers are all scattered across the United States. In fact, one of them was in Japan. So I'm really the only one that's here to do it. I have my oldest brother is also here. He's actually my half brother, and his mom is also sick, so he helps her, and so it was a lot of work.
Yeah. But, so you mentioned that your relationship with your mom definitely strengthened. Did you feel that same impact with your siblings? Did you guys get closer, bond a little more because you had to go through this traumatic experience with your dad and your mom at the same time?
Oh yeah. When I lived in Albuquerque, it was kind of like, we see each other when we see each other, we talk to each other if we have time. But when I came back to start helping, and I would ask them like, hey, my dad has this appointment at this time and my mom has an appointment at the same time. I need somebody to step in and help. And so they would, especially when I was pregnant and then I had my baby, they really stepped in and helped a lot.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was just hard. Sometimes I'd have to be like, I can't do this right now. I need help. And they would come.
Yeah. A lot of times in situations like these, of course, the patient with the disease is given a lot of light, but the caregivers too, people should really acknowledge the fact that they go through so much trying to schedule their appointments with parents and things like that, and that's balancing 2 lives at the same time, and it's really difficult. And I'm really glad that you were able to do that. So you also mentioned that you were working with your local Parkinson's Foundation. So can you explain what you're doing?
My dad was doing physical therapy. He did rock steady boxing. That he loved that. That really helped him a lot. And the woman that he worked with, she helped him so much. For example, for my wedding, she actually got the music that we would be walking down the aisle to. At the time, he was able to walk using a walker. But she worked with him to be able to walk without the walker so he could walk me down the aisle and he'd be able to dance together. So she helped him so much. So about a month after he passed away, I contacted her so that we can so I could volunteer there and just help with whatever I can. But it's been hard to get things going with the whole, the quarantines and lockdowns and stuff. Right now I'm actually doing a moving day fundraiser with the National Parkinson's Foundation. So what I'm doing is just taking donations that'll be going to the foundation. And then on May 9th, there's a virtual walk. It's going to be more of like different exercise videos that are things that a person with Parkinson's would be able to do and would help them. So that's what I'm going to be doing.
Well, that's amazing. So are you going to be doing boxing in the virtual walk and exercise?
I'm not sure. They mentioned boxing, they mentioned yoga and a few other things. And the boxing was really cool. Like seeing my dad do that made me want to do it too.
Yeah, there's also like an organization called Punch for Parkinson's, because boxing is a very helpful exercise to be able to combat what the disease gives to you. So I'm really glad that your dad did that. And thank you so much for actually taking the time out of your day to come and do this interview. And thank you for sharing the story of your dad with the rest of the listeners. Is there anything else that you'd like to mention or say?
No, just, I mean, if you're able to donate, not just to my little fundraiser, but to anything for Parkinson's research and awareness, because treatment changes all the time, and there's, things that don't work for some patients, and so we just need to keep the research going.
Right, and especially with COVID right now, Parkinson's patients might be immunosuppressed or immunocompromised, and with COVID, it's especially dangerous that they might be exposed to something like that. So it's really great that you're doing this virtual walk. So everyone, make sure to go support Graciela.